Welcome to
All
Lasers,
right.
Dragons, Keyboards. I'm Aaron.
I'm Liberty,
And I'm Josh.
and today we have with us Janeen Ippolito. Janine believes that stories change the world. She's the award winning author of over 20 books, including best selling fiction, author resources, and poetry. For 7 years, she was the CEO of an award winning small press. Janine is also an experienced editor, coach, and marketing strategist at Author Elevate, where she equips authors for sustainable success. She hosts the Author Elevate YouTube channel and is an in demand conference speaker and teacher. In her spare time, she helps her husband with his youth sword fighting ministry. Oh, that is really cool. Mood reads, binges her favorite fandoms, and plays the ukulele. She loves to collaborate and encourage, so connect with her on her social media or at jiauthor.com. Janine, welcome back to the show. I think this is the second time we've had you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the last time was a while ago, I
It has
think.
been a
it's been
while.
a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to do like 500 things in the background. Uh, Janine, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself since it's been a bit? Update us on where you're at with your authoring and all of the other things that you've got and all the hats you're wearing.
She's in her office. Clearly.
Oh my goodness. I yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's been a good journey. I think it was last year when I was just starting out with stuff. Really, I stepped down to do this work full time like 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm still here doing it. So that's really cool.
Woohoo!
Yay, longevity, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so I ran the press. I ran Uncommon Universes Press for about 7 years, and then last year, I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off there. I made the decision, with the full agreement of my managing partners, to actually shut it down. Simply because it was a lot of reasons, which we detailed in a lot of different posts and videos. It was very transparent about it. Burnout, changes in the industry, um, realizing the vision and goals we had for it were really great and we had done really cool things with them, but it wasn't sustainable and we wanted to shut it down before it shut itself down. We saw a
hmm
lot of presses that basically sort of hemorrhaged out, and
Oh,
we didn't
there's
want
been
to
a
do
lot
that.
of them over the past
Yeah,
couple of years.
we were
Yeah.
like, we're not
Yeah.
going to do this. I don't want to like let this hemorrhage for a year and then shut it down when everyone is exhausted. I want to do this like it's not going to work. I want to do this now. We can do it right and make sure the authors are sorted out and make sure we get everything done right and good memories and all of that. So that was almost a year ago. And so since then, it was kind of like, okay, that was a big part of what I did. So it was a lot more of just decompressing and focusing on what were the next things and where was my stuff going and all of my books and all of
hmm
that. So it's been a journey with that. It's been a lot of shifts with that.
Oh,
The
I
book,
bet. Yeah.
yeah, the book I'm
Yeah.
here to talk about was written during that time, partly out of I stressed right. Uh, so it was written
So I'm
during
sure
that
you got
time.
a lot done then.
Man,
More
I
than I
wish I could
intended.
stress right. I'd get a lot done if I could do that.
But
I only write when I'm feeling good and happy and stuff, so
you write bright and happy stories,
that
Aaron.
is true,
That
yes.
is true.
Mhm.
Yes.
And the problem is, whenever I do it, sometimes I create new universes, which is how I now have like four of them. So I'm now in a role for myself that I have to stress right in existing universes. I'm not allowed to create anymore, because I have like a bunch to maintain now and readers for each of them. So,
I don't understand anything about that problem.
Nope.
so a lot
You
of
guys have
discipline
readers?
ongoing. Yeah.
You
So a
have
lot of
readers, Aaron.
Yes, both, and thank you to both of you.
hey, your books are good. I like your books. They involve cats.
Thank
Like,
you.
how do you lose with cats?
Exactly. So,
So, yeah,
what is your current project? I know that you have a book coming out in 5 days.
I do. So that is my most recent stress, right? Which, to be fair, I based it off a short story that was published in 2016. So as I tell my readers, I know I promised no new universes, more books than existing ones, So this is still an existing universe because the short story was already written. Um,
That
but
works.
I did want to hop into a universe that was very simple. I tend to world build very complicated worlds, which is great, but I wanted something very simple. And then I was talking with Heidi Burke, the HL Burke, and she's like, "We need more superhero books because I need more comp titles for marketing." I'm like, you know what? Um,
That
so
works.
No, we need to
uh,
rephrase that. We need more good superhero books.
I
There's
mean,
a bunch of
yeah,
bad ones out there. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So I started working on it as a Vella, Kindle Vella, something very easy. Just gonna get it out there, and of course, me being me, about halfway through, I realized it actually turned into a book. And then I pulled it off Vella, much to Aaron's dismay, because
I
he
didn't
didn't
get to
get the
finish it.
ending.
I gotta wait a couple of days now to read the rest of it. I do have it pre-ordered though, so it's gonna show up automatically on the Kindle, and I'll be good then.
There we go. So once it was done, I edited it and realized, there's no reason to not publish this. So I found some designers and put it out there. It's really fun. It has my usual Janine things of like the characters are kind of tricksters, they're misfits, they don't
A little
really
bit
know
of
better.
snark too.
Okay, that there is a ton of snark. This is my snarkiest book I've ever written, and that's been the most surprising thing. Like I
Woohoo!
I've written a lot of different couples, a lot of different pairings, and this is the one that their love language is literally just sarcasm. Like they would just be really sarcastic, and then suddenly would turn slightly romantic, and I'm like, you guys were literally just not even just bantering, just like going for it. But
Hmm.
that that was really one of the most surprising things when I was writing this book, as I was just going through. I'm like, wow, like your love language really is sarcasm. Like it just goes straight from sarcasm to a kiss. Like there's no in between.
It's kind of sort of
Um,
the mirror universe of the Princess Bride there. What he
Mhm.
really said when he said, "As you wish," was, "I love you."
yes.
And what's the name of that book?
It's called Nobody's Hero, and it's the
Oh, yes.
first book in the Superhero Publicist
Okay.
series.
Oh, yeah, I've been seeing ads for that. So,
Hmm.
okay.
Yep.
So,
I honestly thought it was out already. So,
so, kind of a follow up, and then I won't hog all the questions, but kind
Mm-hmm.
of a um, like what did you or where did you go for comp titles? Like, you think superheroes with snark. There's the movie Hancock. There's, Heidi's books, that sort of thing. So, how did you research this book, as it were?
See, that's what made it such a nice stress relief because I basically absorbed superheroes from like 5 or 6 years old. So
mhm.
Okay.
I was raised very much steeped in all the science fiction and fantasy fandoms, like everything, like from a very young age. And so when people mention you should just try write something in superheroes, it'll be easy, it'll be quick, it won't require all the extensive world building you have for other books. And I was like, oh, I know this. Like I've been
Mhm.
reading X-Men and Batman and all of these things since I was young. I've watched a ton of cartoons. My husband and I, he's a huge superhero nerd, so we would go to like he has spent like lots of money on these giant encyclopedias for all the superheroes and their powers and
Oh,
such.
cool.
He made his own superhero tabletop game for kids.
Oh,
Uh
Oh,
neat.
for his first graders because he wanted
Nice.
something that was first grader appropriate and they didn't have anything for first grader level, so he created his
Aw,
own one. Complete with figurines and everything.
that's so cool.
So we're huge nerds with that. And then we've watched everything from Heroes to like all the ones got canceled, like The Cape and No Ordinary Family, and I mean Powerless, and basically superhero shows get canceled a lot. It makes us very
Hmm.
sad.
they
Yeah,
do.
Um,
sadly.
Yeah, there
so
was one that was in the DC universe that had Alan Tudyk in it, and it only lasted like half a season.
was
I
Powerless. I
Yes,
was
it was. It
it
was
was so much
awesome.
fun.
It was.
And
I was letting my kids watch it, even though it
Yeah, I've
probably
missed
was
that
a
one.
little inappropriate for
it was kind of like superheroes meets The Office. It was great.
it was really funny. I enjoyed that.
And so actually that one, if I was gonna say what if all of the things I've watched has inspired this book, it does have a little bit of my if you read my urban fantasies, I still bring a little bit of those like intrigue vibes in there. Not as much. It's not as heavy, but it definitely has some of that like underdog stuff.
Hmm.
I beat up the main character, as you do. Um, and she's very sarcastic about it, as you do. Um, but it's a lot of powerless vibes. The feeling of the people who work adjacent to the superheroes and the villains. And then a fair amount of vibes from the show Heroes, especially the first season, where things are like a wild west and no one's really sure what's going on. The government just is passing laws, but they're not passing them fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's no rules. Like, it's a free for all of what's
Mhm.
legal and what's not.
Mhm.
And so, I really wanted to jump into that kind of universe versus something like Heidi's, which has a lot more established stuff. I
Mhm.
didn't want to. Partly that was me. I didn't want to create a ton of more rules. I wanted something
Mhm.
easy, and so I'm like, I don't want to have to world build
Mhm.
all of the superhero infrastructure. So we're going to just say that they don't have it.
Yeah, Hades
Sounds like
has got a whole government division, and
Yeah.
it
so
works.
so
It
did
Yeah.
works
mine.
for her, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this one,
I,
the government division just got passed through Congress, and so like it's
mhm.
literally like weeks old. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds like
Nice.
completely opposite from where mine is, where there's
mhm.
an overseeing structure and you know testing and all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's completely up in the air. Which I was partly inspired by what, like, just observing how things work through Congress and how government departments get made. So I did a lot of research in that,
Mhm.
and then I lost what little faith I have in the government. But other than
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I could have told you that 20 years ago, but okay.
I purposely don't do a lot of research in these areas because I'm like,
It'll
oh, I don't know,
only
I'm not
lead
gonna
to
like this.
depression.
But I kind of had to because I had to figure out like what were the actual processes of starting a new department, like what would
Mhm.
that look
Yeah.
like and everything.
Then she threw a wrench in the works by including a snail man.
Oh, that was yeah.
Hilarious.
He basically steals the show, which just makes me happy.
Oh,
As you
talk
do.
about over the top characters, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Aaron, did
Well,
you want to
Yeah,
go with
actually,
yours?
leading right into that, what characters do you relate to the best out of that book?
um, well, actually, not the Snailman, but I partly based him on Sheldon Cooper of Big Bang. So if you're thinking about Snailman, like I pretty much like just riffed off of Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang, like
Okay.
unapologetically. And oh, I don't know. They're all really fun. I get really attached to my ensemble casts, and I have another a fun ensemble cast that I really enjoyed here. I liked Cassie a lot because of what I was able to do with her. I made some choices with her. I write both because I do want my books to sell and make money, but I also love to process things. So I kind of jam them together and put things I like, hopefully, in tropes that people will enjoy. Um, and she was one that, oh, this is a slight spoiler. I'm going to do it anyway. So sorry in advance.
Yeah, it's fine.
Um, I wanted a character with a chronic condition. It's not really a spoiler. You kind of know that. I drop hints from the very beginning. Like if you have a chronic condition, you're like, oh wait a second. She may not be aware of this, but she's got stuff like the whole thing of like being dependent on, in her case, Mountain Dew
Mhm.
constantly. Um, falling asleep really easily, but not being rested. Lots of backaches, those kind of things. And she's in her mid-20s. And so this isn't like normal, but she's just what's normal for her. Um, and I wanted to throw that in a character without it being defining them because I was reading a
And
lot of books
also
with
without it being in your face, too. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
because a lot of people I know live with stuff like this and it's not they
Mhm.
still do things. You just kind of get used to having to cope with it.
Mhm.
Um and it there's lots more reveals in the story. This book has a lot of reveals. It's like all my books have 10 of reveals in them where people go, "Oh, I didn't see that
Mhm.
coming." That but it was really I wanted to do that in a superhero book in particular and not have it overtake the character or be something that made her super extra special. I like to
Okay.
include things like that. Like some people are like, oh, it's disability rep or this rep. I'm like, no, it's just someone living their life. I don't
Yeah.
think I need to point giant arrows to it. I just because then it won't be relatable. Then it will be
Hmm.
something really extra special. So
Mhm.
I wanted it just to be no. Some people just live their lives this way. And
Mhm.
sometimes they do for the smart things. And sometimes they drink about like 5 cups of coffee or a liter of Mountain Dew to get through the day because they can't keep their eyes open. And
Mhm.
that's life. Um, So I did really enjoy that about her journey. I thought that added a lot of good humanity to her.
Hmm. Definitely. Josh?
So, going off of that, the three of us here have had the pleasure of meeting you in person and getting to know you through Realm Makers and that sort of thing. And you aren't afraid to talk about the fact that you have your own uh, neurodivergencies, we'll say. Like, how does that inform your writing in general, not just this book?
To Well, I think it informs the kind of characters I write, first of all. Um, writing misfits or tricksters or things like that.
Hmm.
When I was looking for, okay, what defines all of my books, because I write in a lot of different subgenres, and the readers don't cross over all the time. My fairy tale readers don't cross over to other things, but I'm always writing misfits who don't fit in, whose brains don't work the same way, who do stimming, who, which for anyone who doesn't know, like that's when you do things to calm yourself down. I mean, I know that you guys know that, but
Yeah.
um, or who space out, or who lose track of time, or who don't process things the same way. That was one thing I realized connected all of my stories together, because I wouldn't know how to write a character who wasn't like that. Like I have no concept of a completely, utterly neurotypical character with no issues and no illnesses. That's foreign to me.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so there's that. And then also my brain itself, it processes things in a special way. I have OSDD1, which is similar to DID. So a lot of times, like I write all these different characters partly because I have all these different things I can write in my head. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of my secret weapon in some ways, because people are like, how do you write the voices so well? How do you write them so different? I'm like, well, guess what? Guess what's in my head? Um, so in that way, it is kind of processing for me,
Hmm.
because I don't choose to always be very open about that and how I show up, but I can
Hmm.
write all these fun characters, and that's kind of a way for different parts of my brain to speak and to share things that I don't choose to necessarily uh, show up in how I talk to people.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Liberty? Roll a math rock.
So,
Liberty is
we're
processing. Please wait.
yeah, Liberty's like doing 500 things in the background. So,
That's right.
uh, Janine, where do you get the information or the ideas for your books? I mean, where do those inspirations come from?
Boy, if I could video edit right now, I'd just insert a clip from Star Trek. No man should know where his dreams come from, Data.
Actually, some of them come from dreams.
Hmm.
Um, I will sometimes create story ideas when I sleep, or test out story ideas when I sleep. I lucid dream, so it's another sort of weird skill. Yeah.
Oh.
Parts of my brain will be awake when I'm sleeping and come up with ideas.
I'm glad it's not just me.
No, no, it's not. It's really, I love the creative brain. That's one of the reasons I like to be open about talking these things, because it's like anytime I share stuff, even if people are like, well, I don't have this exact diagnosis, people go, oh, but I get that. And I'm like, see, we're all kind of weird here. When you write fiction, no one's coming at this from a normal brain, and that's okay.
Um, yeah.
Um, but there's that. Sometimes it is kind of to have an escape. So if I'm going back to my brain, if I'm in a place where I really have to lean into certain parts of my head, other parts will just write stuff because they're bored. So it kind of comes out of, I'm so stressed out, I will write this. So um, in this situation, I had stories I wanted to tell, characters who wanted to talk. There we go. And so it was partly that. And then it was also the core of why I write books is a lot of times is to show that sort of no one is beyond grace, and to hopefully help people see
Hmm.
things from a different perspective. Um, my background educationally is in cross-cultural studies, mediation, all of those things. So it's a lot about
Mhm.
trying to help people to understand each other and how to show that different people can work together.
Hmm.
And so I will kind of look at something and go, okay, who is the kind of character that's getting missed in the situation? Like who's the kind of
Mhm.
person that you wouldn't think is the main character? And let's see what happens with them. Um, Sometimes it means character motivations are hard because
Yeah.
when you choose a naturally supporting character to be the main character, you have to kind of kick their butt to get them to do anything.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
but I think those stories need to be told too.
if I can
Not go ahead. Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. So if you're done, I want to go off on a little bit of a
Mhm.
rabbit trail right here because I've heard a lot of people in and outside of the
Talk.
writing community poo-poo like, oh, that's based on a dream story. You're just writing crap down now and you're being lazy about it. It's like, no, no, there's a difference. I'm coming from a little bit of a perspective from there, but for me, I have trouble falling asleep like
Hmm.
ever since I was a kid. And one of the ways that I have dealt with that is I'll start basically daydreaming and it leads naturally into lucid dreaming and it's like no, that's different. What you're doing there is kind of in computer terms background processing a lot of this stuff and letting that idea run in your subconscious and kind of directing it and kind of working on the story idea in your downtime. And
Yep.
for me, at least, it's uh, you're kind of working on all this plot idea in the background instead of in the foreground, and you wake up and okay, I'll just kind of type it out. I got this idea all worked out now.
Yep. Sometimes that's how my brain works too, and I have to go home and sleep on an idea because uh my brain needs to work it out. So I think that's a perfectly logical way
If
of
Yeah.
doing things.
if anybody who hasn't lucid dreamed, Google it. It's really neat.
I was actually having one this morning about cats. So, yeah, I understand.
All right.
Or is it back to me?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's back to you.
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot again. Um, what's the most difficult thing about writing characters that are the opposite sex for you?
I don't really have any issues. Um,
Okay.
Occasionally physical stuff, but not really.
Okay.
Because if anything, I think it'd be in reverse. Like if you think about guys and girls physically, women have periods and all these things. There's different
Hmm.
things you kind of have to think about. Whereas guys don't have this as much, so physically you don't
Yeah.
have to keep as much. Like you don't have to track this. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't really have any issues writing for the opposite sex. But if anything, sometimes it's easier. But in general, it's not hard at all.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly I enjoy writing from both male and female perspectives, so I
Hmm.
definitely understand that. Um, it for me, it's fun getting into a male mindset. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of having such a diverse community. Um, so for those of you listeners who want to write, uh, get into an author community. It's very helpful. But what I was going to say is being part of that diverse community makes it easier to not uh, make some of the stupid mistakes that, say, males might write about females that are just very unrealistic, we'll say. You
Somebody
know?
will catch that eventually, but hopefully.
And well, I think what helps too is, I mean, I do have some unfair advantages because of my brain chemistry, and I'll just put that out there.
Mhm.
Because I have all those different sides, it's really easy to think in different ways. But what I
Mhm.
also do, and this is something else that I guess is an unfair advantage, but I don't think about it because I was taught it for 4 or 5 years in college, and I really absorbed the skills. Is you need to listen, and if you want male readers for your book, now if you don't care about male readers, well, to a certain extent, romance books where they have guys acting these ways, and you're like, what, like. But it's for a female readership, and they want the guys to act that way, and it's like, okay. But if you actually want guys to read your books, then lurk in reader groups where guys talk and hear what they say. And
Mhm.
it's that simple. Like if one of the things I see most often that both sides kind of complain about is lack of agency or lack of purpose. Oh, this is just a token character. Oh, they're just doing this.
Mhm.
Oh, they're just doing things to please the reader. Now, if you're writing a wish fulfillment romance book, that's a different story, I guess. But if you're
Mhm.
trying to write books that both genders are going to enjoy,
Mhm.
um, then you need to listen to why they're going to show up in the book and what they like in male characters
Mhm.
and what they want to see and that kind of stuff, and then riff off of that. And so it's just simply a matter of asking questions or even just being willing to listen. Like if you see a thread, read everything that people you know offer feedback on. And I think that's part of, since I did study cross-cultural studies, it's part of sort of the sociological market research kind of thing.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
I think sometimes
Really
with
cool.
that, we don't think about something as simple as listening. Like we think it has to be
Mhm.
really complicated instead of just literally hopping on some Facebook threads and reading, hopping on some Reddit threads and reading. Yes, you have to use a lot of discernment, but out of that, you can get some ideas of
Mhm.
at least how
Yeah.
to frame characters or what things to avoid.
Mhm. Yep.
I
I
can
don't want to
see that.
strike an introvert nerve here, but I mean, also, if you have in real life male and female friends,
Mm-hmm.
listen to that
Mm-hmm. Yep.
when you're hanging out with them too. I mean,
Mhm. Oh yeah. And I drive Uber for a living, so I get a lot of mail in my car.
yeah,
So,
that's kind of, you want to kind of take most of those people, kind of set them aside. All right, we have the normal people and the weirdos. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Mostly.
I'll pick something out really easy here, and I'm sorry in advance for any of my super clean author people out there who really like go by that tell, but this is something that my husband pointed out to me in my first book that I've always remembered a bit when I wrote my first book with a male POV, and he read through. He's like, "No, this is good." He says, "But there's something really simple here." He's like, "You're saying he's attracted to her." I'm like, "Yeah, he needs to check her out," and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
right." Like, it's not. I would think that instinctively, but I didn't read it in books because a lot of times in certain books they're like, "Well, we don't
mhm.
want to see the guy check
We
the girl
clean
out
it up a
because."
little and politically
Yeah, and
correctivize it.
he's
And
like, but if he likes her, he's gonna notice her. And there's ways you
Mhm.
Mhm.
can write it so that it's not sleazy, but it's still gonna happen. That's part of attraction.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
so it was some little simple things like that that at the same time it's weird because if you write in certain genres, then people are gonna go, we don't want that. It doesn't matter if it's realistic. We don't want that. And you're like, okay. Just a
which is
warning, by the
weird
way,
to
in my
me
book,
because there's
the guys
ways you
noticeable.
can do that and make it clean. But yeah,
Yeah, there are ways you can
Yeah.
do that without having to make it sleazy at all. But um that's another thing to unpack, the sort of polarization of genres. I don't think we want to go into that in this particular thing.
oh, we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good point. Something I had thought of. Aaron, ask a question.
Ask a question. Okay. Oh, here's a fun one. What do you like to do when you're not writing, other than sword fighting? Because we already talked about that a bit.
Oh, let's see. A lot of things. I collect hobbies and then forget to do them. Uh,
That's an ADHD thing right there. But yeah,
It is.
Yes.
like
the
collecting
trick to
hobbies. Like,
that,
oh,
by
I'm
the way,
sorry.
if you're ADHD out there, the trick to that is don't chain hobbies. Learn to rotate through them.
Yeah, yeah.
I did that as a child, and now the ones that I enjoyed, I stick to, such as
Hmm.
knitting.
There we go.
But there is kind of the flavor of the month. You go through and
I definitely did that as a kid.
yep.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's see. I do play ukulele. I just plink at it, and that's one thing people are like. Well, why don't you do videos or stuff? I'm like, I do it for me, and it's really nice because a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff I do
Yeah.
feels very public. Whereas
Mhm.
that's I just do it for me. I don't perform it. It's really relaxing just to do something that you don't have to feel like it's for anyone else.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
I do banjo and kind of is added into the hobby roulette, but I play two
yep.
songs very badly right now, so.
um, I color different things. There's really complicated coloring books, and that's something you will
Mhm.
sometimes see my art on my
Mhm.
personal profile. But that's just something I find relaxing, and I like to play with color palettes. So I'll set on I have like a tons of markers. I set them all out, and I figure out, okay, does this look good or it's something. But it's nice to have something that if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. Whereas other things matter. It's like, this wasn't a great choice. I should not have put those colors together. Whoops. And I do like a lot of fandoms. I watch a lot of TV shows and those kind of things. Partly because I can work to it as well. Uh, Other than that, I have wood burned. I have done different kinds of decoupage art. It's just a rotation. I'm right now in a place where I'm so busy trying to get things going with the launch and with some stuff with Author Elevate that I haven't had a chance to do as much of my hobbies as I'd like. Um, so hopefully it'll happen in the future.
Okay. So, have you experienced anything similar to any of the events in your book or your books?
Like with this book, I have a lot of books out there. It's a lot to deal with. Um, I did write the chronic illness thing in there because I understand what that's like a bit.
Okay.
And like having liking to travel, but you don't travel well.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I love to travel, but I don't travel well at all. I have to take so many things with me, and I
Mhm.
don't sleep well on those things. But I still like going
Yeah.
places.
I like to
Um,
say that
Oh, I
I
know how that
enjoy
goes, yeah.
having. Yeah, I like to say enjoy having traveled, not so much the process of it.
What we really
Yes.
need to do is invent the transporter so you can beam to your location, have fun, beam back home, and go to sleep in
that
your own bed every night.
yes,
I'm there with you.
there's a reason why in my urban fantasy I gave the main character teleportation powers. That was wish fulfillment right there. Like I don't usually say many things are wish fulfillment, but that was wish fulfillment. I want to be able to like teleport my clothes on and off. I want to be able just to teleport like places. I want to be able if I forget my keys, just snap your fingers, you have them like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Like I don't have to carry stuff with me. I can just like whenever I get to location, I can just snap my fingers and bring in what I need. That was probably one of one of my true really wish fulfillment powers I gave a character was that one. And then I took it away for a bit because I mean. Um
Of course. You have to be
um
mean to your characters.
you kind of have to, yeah. And I think what went through this one a lot is what the character goes through with trying to figure out how to navigate this whole situation with marketing and what's legal but and what's not legal, but what is sort of like not considered important by the government. That was kind of inspired by what I ended up doing more recently. I've been trying to keep more in touch with current events and stuff, and I regret this sometimes because
Yeah.
it stresses me out. Like my husband and I both are like, we're going to try to actually become informed citizens. Then we go, we wish we weren't this informed. Like, can we
Yeah.
like not know this much?
Yeah, I
Yes.
understand that. I listened to
Yeah, it's one of the things that's like,
a
okay, this is
very
important, but I can't do anything about it other than
yeah.
vote, really, so why stress myself out about it?
Yeah.
yeah, I listen to an awful lot of political podcasts, so I understand completely.
At a
I
certain point,
don't,
it's
because I
just
don't
burned
like
out.
headaches.
Yeah. Well, and even just trying to keep track of what the government's doing, like keeping track, okay, what are the Supreme Court cases that are happening? What are these things that are happening? And so that kind of informed it where I was like, it gave me, as one of my editor, when she says, this is a slightly more cynical view of the government. I'm like, no, this is literally after I'm just observing the government. Like, I would have had more optimistic view had I not done research.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But then
I
the
can
beautiful,
definitely understand that.
yeah,
I worked in politics for 25 years, so I understand
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
In college, a lot of people would call political science the burnout major. Like the biggest deal, the professor just going, "Okay, you're going to go for a semester in DC, and half of you, when you come back, are going to switch majors."
My
Yeah, I can understand that.
one of my parents is a poli sci major, so I understand completely.
Yeah.
Their other their other degree is in airplane engineering.
Nice, simple, straightforward.
Yeah.
Just
That's why I like computers. They do exactly what you tell them. That's
Not
also
all the
why I
time.
don't like computers, because they do exactly what you tell them.
I was gonna say, so yours do what you tell them to do? Wow, you've tamed the
Well,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
See, the problem is it's literal. If you accidentally typo, the computer will okay. It's like, no, I didn't mean. The computer doesn't interpret. It does what you tell it to do.
Mhm.
you run it through the Google AI stuff, and they think that there were Black Vikings. I mean, that's not exactly
mhm.
telling it what it should be doing. So.
Yeah.
Well, I have a whole separate rant about
We
AI
could go
and
on
Google
AI
and
for a
stuff.
while. We're
Yeah.
probably not gonna do that right
We'll
now either.
we'll do that
Table
on the
that.
after show.
Table that, yeah.
Basically, AI. Everybody thinks, oh, it's intelligent. No. AI is a whole bunch of if else
Mhm.
statements, and it's really, really dumb.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, it can do stuff faster than people can. Not better at this point.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, moving
I
on.
definitely understand that. Yeah. Moving on.
All right, Aaron, ask a question.
Let's see. Oh, here's a fun one. When did you write your first book, and how old were you?
Oh, I was 12. It was for a contest, the Write and Illustrate Your Own Book contest that was run by the local county library system.
Oh.
As usual, I was finishing it madcap the night before it was due.
Of course.
Yeah, as one
Um,
does. Yes.
with like at that point, you had the internet, but it wasn't that great. So I had like 5 or 6 books open on there trying to figure out different things because I was studying in a different country and such because I was very ambitious. Um,
To the encyclopedia.
yes, yeah, all the things, and it actually won, so that was cool.
Really cool.
Oh,
Excellent.
Yeah,
neat.
so that book is still in that county's library system.
Oh,
Oh,
neat.
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, we gotta hunt that down now.
Oh my goodness, no, you don't need to. It's I was a precocious child, like, wow, it's such advanced concepts. I'm like, no, I'm literally reading adult books and have been for like 5 or 6 years. This is like me just using, like, I'm just modeling off the cool things that people are doing,
Yep,
but I
yep.
guess they weren't used to that.
Yep.
So they were like, what? I just was reading way above my level, guys. That's pretty much it.
I think you go
Yeah.
into the author community and you find all the people there that have the story back way back in the ancient days when Pizza Hut had the Book It program.
Oh, yeah.
And you,
Mm.
all right, Timmy, how many books are you gonna read? Oh, two. How many? All right, Bobby, how many books are you gonna read? No, three. Aaron, how many books are you gonna read? 100. No, you have to
Yeah.
set a realistic goal so we get our class pizza party. I don't know. Put down a number you want. I'm gonna read 100 or
Yeah.
more with or without pizza anyway.
Oh, I would game the system on those things too. So I was in a school that
Yep.
had like the accelerated reader program. It was in Georgia, and this whole program, and you got points. You could take tests.
Mhm.
And I
Oh.
think they had to change the system because of what I did. Because I realized that I could take tests on books that, like, I skimmed because they didn't have a restriction on the grade level at that point. So I was a fifth grader, but I could take tests on second grade books.
Oh,
I would
Uh,
go
no.
and just burn through all these things. I racked up so many points. I got like this medal and everything. It wasn't illegal. Okay. I think they changed the rules after I did. I think I was like the example. But like and I told my mom, and she's like, "Well, no, that's valid. You figured out the system and you read the books. You just read all these, like, I just read a ton of books at all these different age levels. And by fifth grade, I was reading like, Star Trek books and Star Wars books and like the really thick fat things and stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
I could burn through like a third grade book and they didn't have a rule against it. So
Yeah.
that happened.
that's actually funny. so, um, so before we go, because I mean, we have been chatting for about 40
Mhm.
minutes now. Why don't you tell us a bit about Author Elevate and what you're trying to do in that community?
Okay, so this was interesting. I kind of stepped into this. Like, sometimes you choose your niche, and sometimes your niche just
Mm-hmm.
happens. So when I started doing, I knew I was going to step down from teaching full time. I taught for 8 years. I'm like, I want to do self-employment. Partly also, I physically, by the ripe old age of 30, physically my body couldn't handle the rigors of teaching, which was kind of embarrassing to admit because there were teachers twice my age who were doing it. But because of my chronic issues, I just couldn't handle the rigorous schedule that they had to do. Like teachers burn out when you don't have that stuff. Like it's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what health is. When you're a teacher, like you just go to school sick unless you're dying, and then you some take a day off and you come back. But I started just doing some author stuff on the side, author services things. You test it out and see. And right away, because I'd always been an entrepreneur, I grew up blue collar in a financially not necessarily stable environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always kind of aware of money and how to make income and that kind of stuff and having to balance that with what you wanted to do because that was a reality. So
Mm-hmm.
when I would talk with authors, I would right away say, well, what do you want to do with this book and these things and that things? And they'd be like, whoa, no one's asked this. They just try to do the service tree. And I'm like, but if I don't know what you want, then I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
And that right away kind of set me apart from a lot of people who were doing stuff. And that was back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was running the press by then. So I was kind of doing this stuff on the side for authors and then running this publishing house. And it sort of developed over the years into my whole niche where I say it's market focused and it is, but part of it is just figuring out what you want to do with that. And if you say, oh, I don't want to do anything with the market, then we go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it developed into this thing. I called it Author Elevate. Originally, I was doing it with AC Williams,
Mm-hmm.
Amy. And then she needed to step back because she actually is now working with Author Conservatory, and which is another author program. And so I realized I really wanted to step into this more and really do like there's a couple things I really wanted to do to help authors. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's working with Author Elevate, which is all about sustainable success for authors,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
customized to their terms. Because there's just not enough voices that are talking about what success can look like for individual authors who don't necessarily want to do corporate. And about 95% of the voices out there are corporate.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And all respect to that, but there are other ways that you can do this and find it satisfying. You don't have to follow a corporate
Mm-hmm.
model. It's a
Oh,
very limited
yeah.
model.
I know
Mm-hmm.
if I tried to follow that, I'd have given it an up rating a long time ago because it's not me.
And so that's where I
Mm-mm.
started doing this research for the last 5 years, just learning, listening, figuring out what are all these other reasons people have to write and motivations to market.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where um, I'm now working on this community thing. I tested out at the Realm Makers Winter Retreat, and that went really well. So now I have no excuse. I have to do it, which is kind of scary. It's like, oh no, it worked. Now I actually have to go ahead. It's like now I have to publish the book. It's good. Oh no, why do I doing that? But I have a tool that actually helps authors and gives them strategies and stuff based on all of those things.
Where
Mm-hmm.
can we go to
And
learn more about that tool?
right now, you need to be my email newsletter list because that's my next place that I'm sharing about it.
Okay.
I'm in the process of creating a book. I'm creating a community on Mighty Networks because Facebook is evil. Sorry, Facebook, but you are. Um,
Yeah, it didn't used to be, but oh my goodness, these
yeah,
days.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
That's another rant though.
I refuse to put a lot of my energy into a platform that was not going to give me the returns for it, and I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
got fed up with that. So I'm just creating my own.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to be unveiling all these things sort of at once.
Okay.
So if you want any more to learn more about that, just go to jauthor.com. You can scroll down and sign up for my email newsletter list. I just sent out my first wave of hi, who wants to know more about this? And I got a ton of emails back that I have to sift through.
Also, another kind of side bit, if you're on the fence about signing up for yet another email newsletter,
Yep.
Janine's is a little bit different because she has a whole bunch of questions you can actually interact with her instead of just buy my books, blah.
Mm,
So
Yes.
yeah. And
her
I'm very unfiltered on there.
newsletter is really neat about that. So yeah.
Like that sometimes you open up newsletters and they're either full of stuff for you to do, which I love those and I save them and then I delete them after a month because I like they're five paragraphs of useful things that I don't have time to do, but they're really
Yeah,
cool.
it's not just me.
I
Good.
like I see you, Tammy Lebreck. I see you, David Gong. You're amazing. I keep your newsletters forever and then I forget why I have them, but they're good. Um
I've got like
Mhm.
Mine are
500 Dave Farland newsletters about writing stuff
oh
that I
man.
haven't read yet.
Yeah. Mine are a lot more just unfiltered thoughts and hey, isn't this hard? But
Mhm.
also here's some ways to think about it. They're a lot more like just chilling out backstage in a green room than they are about giving you more work to do.
Mhm.
And I do reply to all my newsletter things because I think that's important.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
um yeah, it's a fun place to chill out, and that is because it's the easiest way for me to communicate. That's why I'm doing
Mhm.
it for now. I'm talking about that stuff. And you're also welcome to hop over to my YouTube channel, Author
Mhm.
Elevate. I used to do a podcast, and then I realized, and this is me taking my own advice. Even though there are a ton of writing podcasts and they're great, and I listen to
Mhm.
them, I didn't like making them, and I've made
Mhm.
3. It took me 3 of them to realize I kept making them because that's what you do. Oh, and it's
Mhm.
easy. But for me personally, I didn't enjoy it. Um,
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
I switched to the YouTube channel, and I'm much happier there, making more content consistently, and people like it. So there we go. So you can
Yeah.
find me there.
Okay. Um, on the newsletter thing, what do you find is the best type of things to include in your newsletter? I mean, most people don't want to have all the pushy buy your book, buy your book, buy your book, or
Mhm.
this program, buy this program. What do you find engages your readers the best?
Honesty. But that's,
Okay.
first of all, it's your brand. So my brand is unvarnished honesty. I will say things that
Mhm.
everyone else is thinking and not saying. And I will try to say it in the kindest way possible, which is also different because usually the kind of people who do that are very loud and in your
Mhm.
face.
Obnoxious and disliked, yeah.
Rash.
Yeah, rash, those kind of
Yeah.
things. And I'm a little more self-deprecating about things too.
Mhm.
I won't. I don't think for me it's not natural to show up and act like I know like I'm the
Mhm.
smartest person in the room. I happen to be very smart at certain things, partly because I work at it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I don't think that's just not part of my brand. I don't.
Mhm.
That's not how I work. So I think you need to understand how you want to show up. And for your fiction stuff, my fiction I'm going to have to be revamping because I've realized that I do have readers who are only going to read certain genres. So I need to do more segmenting, which is going to be a pain, but I have to do it someday when I bribe myself with like chocolate or something. I know what to do. I'm just like I don't want to do this because it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But so fiction I'm going to be segmenting more, but even fiction I try my fiction I try to make it short and sweet.
Mhm.
But that's me again. Like I don't I'm signed up for email newsletters that have a lot of text. I usually
Mhm.
skim it. I'll stay on the newsletters because I'm friends with the person and I do want to get I want to know when the releases are.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to read all the paragraphs because I just that's not me. I don't do that. So instead I'm going
Mhm.
to I'll skim it. So for my own newsletters, I don't put lots of text in them. I
Mhm.
just go right to the point with different things and such and talk about the books or that kind of stuff. So a little bit is it's a little bit of understanding your audience. It's a little bit of
Mhm.
understanding what the newsletter is for and making sure your audience knows that.
Mhm.
Like if you're gonna do a very diary style thing, making sure they know that it's gonna be like that.
Okay.
And then it's a little bit of doing something that's gonna be sustainable for you.
Mhm.
I've tried a lot of different models. I've taken a lot of different courses, and I've ditched some things because even though they're best practices, I just don't like it, so I won't do it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's most important to send out those newsletters for me every couple of weeks. I try to um, send out, alternating the fiction and nonfiction one so that you're not getting tons of newsletters. But I made a lot of choices just because it was easiest for me to do. And the other thing that I think people don't think about enough is when you have a thought, write it down. I'm still not
Yes.
great about this, but like I'll have a sticky note when I have myself together. I'll have a sticky note of ideas so I can just sit down and go, oh, I have things to talk about, and I just go through the list, put it in the
Mhm.
newsletter, and we're good to
There
go.
you go. And it
Um,
makes sense to do things that may not be best practices, but you're going to consistently be able to do them. Knowing your own limits is a
yeah,
thing, I think.
and knowing who you want to connect and what that matters for you.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I've done polls on especially my nonfiction newsletter, seeing what people want, and they've told me
Yeah.
we just like that when we open up, you'll just say, "Wow, that really sucked." Like, it's just that honesty. They like that. I'm like, okay, cool, because I can do that. I didn't know,
Mhm.
like, they wanted that kind of positivity, but also with this very grounded in this reality of, you're not crazy. This is hard and weird and strange.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, And so, knowing, like, getting a little bit of feedback for that can always be helpful as well. And then choosing a platform you don't hate. That was a big choice for me. Uh, I tried a bunch of platforms. I know a lot about newsletter platforms. I skip between like 5 or 6.
Hmm.
And I chose ConvertKit because I don't hate it. You could try to argue me into SendFox or Sendinblue or MailerLite, although I've heard MailerLite has really been having some issues after they've changed their things.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to jump off of MailerLite and probably go to Substack. So.
Mm-hmm. So I chose ConvertKit because I like it. And I think that was something where,
Hmm.
again, at first I was trying to go for the most optimized or listening to everyone else. And I finally said, okay,
Hmm.
which one of these do I not hate?
Hmm.
ConvertKit. Okay, there we go. People ask, do you recommend it? I'm like, I recommend you use what you don't hate. I'm very straightforward with that. You don't have to use what I use. Just use one that's going to work for you on your budget.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, we've been chatting now almost an hour. We probably ought to wrap this up,
Yeah.
although I think we could probably go all afternoon
Yeah.
if we wanted to. Um, Janine, your next book comes out the 21st of March,
It
is that
does.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. So go pre-order or buy Janine's book,
Mm-hmm.
depending on when you're hearing this.
Yeah, and my
The
recommendation, if you want to, is go to jipbooks.com because you can buy
Mhm.
the ebook and
Okay.
the paperback direct from me through my
Okay.
Shopify store.
So
So
JI
that's
Books is different than JI Author.
JIP. Yeah, JIP Books,
Okay.
which is short for Just Imagine Press Books, which is my imprint name for them. But yeah,
Okay.
Nice.
JIP and then books.com, and that takes you directly to my store and you can order direct from me.
Okay.
Um, I just get more money that way. I mean, you can also order on Amazon or other places, but
Hmm.
if you get it from me, you get it signed and stuff. It's nice.
Okay. So obviously jiauthor.com,
Mhm,
jipbooks.com.
mhm.
Anywhere else that we should be looking for you? Do you have a quick link to your YouTube?
Just go to Author Elevate on YouTube. Just search it.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll try to have that link in the show notes if you are listening to this on podcast. Otherwise,
Somebody's writing that down, right?
Yes.
I'm working on it. So, well, Janine, it's been great having you on the show today. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up for the day?
It's been great being here. Again, it's really fun to get to be a guest on a show because I do a lot of interviews myself. So it's like, oh wait, I get to answer the questions. Look at that.
I know it is so different being on the other side of the
It
the the
is.
microphone, as it were.
Yeah.
So,
So thank you for having me here. And readers, check out my books if you want to. Thank you for hanging out. Same with authors. Authors, just keep doing awesome things and don't get freaked out and stop doom scrolling sometimes and write your book.
Yeah.
Yes.
oh
Okay.
man,
And
you're hitting on one of my worst things to do.
and that
Yep.
stack of 20 things you have to do, pare it down to just one thing you have to do today, and then give yourself a
Mhm.
week to do it.
Yeah.
Um, other than that, yeah, my usual catchphrase is go forth and be awesome. And yeah, that's
Hmm.
pretty much it.
There you go.
Okay.
Well,
So do we
thank you so
have?
much.
So real quick, do we have anybody coming up? Anybody on the books, Josh?
So in April, probably the middle of April, we have Morgan Bussey.
Yay.
Uh, Coming up in August, we are going to have Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman to talk about the third book in the new Dragonlance series.
Ooh.
Um,
Nice.
and potentially this fall, we're going to have uh, what is his name again?
Oh no.
I just R.A. Salvatore.
Ooh.
Oh,
Wow.
I
So
didn't realize you had booked him.
I
So
haven't booked him yet, but I'm working on it. So
okay. Well then, if you guys have a favorite author you want to have on the show, send us the information through Facebook or our email address, which is on our website, which I believe is lasersdragonsandkeyboards.com. Um, Otherwise, everybody, you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you again in April.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.